I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about 1996. We are drafting again. Chris Ryan is here. Hi, Chris.
What's up, guys?
We are recording from the past into the future.
Okay, so what day is it in the world of this podcast?
Yeah, because I just made a bunch of yen jokes for a future episode of The Watch that haven't aged well.
I think it's going to be October when this episode
You're
airs.
kidding me.
Early October.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we do like a time capsule for ourselves and for the listeners?
Just a snapshot of what's happening in the world.
I don't know anything you want October you to know.
Oh, yeah. Keep calm and carry on. October meeting.
Yeah, we were just talking about baseball.
We were talking about Mets doomerism.
Right.
And so, they've fallen out of the wild card lead. And they're struggling. They just dropped a game to the Colorado Rockies. I would say my enthusiasm has been a bit dimmed.
Okay.
Maybe at this time, 2 months from now, they'll be playing the Philadelphia Phillies.
When do the playoffs start? Playoffs.
Early October.
Early October.
Okay, that's great timing.
It's
for
Mr.
me.
October time.
Well, I mean, I do know that, but then inevitably the World Series stretches into November.
Yeah.
And someone needs to be Mr. November
For the
as well.
purposes of this podcast, do you think in October we will be so back or it will be so over?
I've never been back with the Mets. There's
No,
never
I mean,
been a
No,
time.
you meant generally.
Oh, films.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant
Films.
politically.
Well, we're mere
I was
weeks
talking about
away
the yen.
we're mere weeks away from Venom: The Last Dance, as this podcast is coming out.
Right. Is this the week of Joker? Is Joker Folie à Deux upon us?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
How
How are you feeling, Chris?
About
that?
Joker?
Yeah.
I for every film that comes along that I'm I wonder if I'll have something to say about this. I'd love an opportunity to do so on The Big Picture.
Yeah.
I think of a Colin Cowherd reel I watched the other day where he walks with his dress shirt untucked and down to his mid thighs and just does a monologue as he's going to his booth where he will do his solo talk show. And I want that for Sean. I want
For
behind the
Folie à
scenes
Deux?
content of Sean wearing a long dress shirt talking about Todd Phillips.
How many solo podcasts will I record during?
I'm going to put the
Amanda's leave?
over. I'm going to put the over under at 5, and I'm going to take the over.
More than 5?
Yeah, it's 2 a week, plus emergency news.
I have so many guys in my Instagram DMs that are like, "Hey, bro,
Yeah, I bet you do.
heard you say you're looking for a fill-in while Amanda's
Do
out. I am the
but
man
here's the
for
thing.
you."
What they don't know is that I get approval.
who,
Yeah, so
who cleared that?
Wait, did you say I'm looking for a fill-in?
You were here, I think, when I was making the joke. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
currently scouting,
Oh, yeah.
for potential
Okay.
fill-ins.
a lot
and
of
many
people
men
are really
were like,
taking that
yes,
seriously. They're
sure.
I am available.
Here are my
Here's
4
my
favorites on
letterbox.
Letterboxd. Yeah. God bless them. God bless them all. I wish them
Um,
luck. Keep reaching out.
How many angry voice notes do you think I'll have sent you at this point? At
I'll never know
3
because I won't
a.m.
check them.
You
So I
won't
don't know.
That's not true. I would never. I'm not a voice notes person.
I've never gotten a single voice note from you in your entire life.
Yeah, I honestly really don't know how to do it. I freeze. I mean, I know you got to hold the thing down, but it's sort of like voicemail panic.
Yeah.
I'm a writer first. It's unusual
You're about
that
the
I've
text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really, and plus I need, when you have the new baby, I'm texting while I'm trying not to
Wake
disturb the
anybody.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be really online when this is happening.
That's
I'll be
awesome.
the
Huge
first.
change. Yeah.
Will you accept cookies?
Face
Have you
ID?
seen Trap yet?
No. I
Okay.
haven't.
Well, that's disappointing. Anyway,
I was
there's-
saving it. I'm going. I'm about to go to a lake in Oregon.
Okay.
And
That's
usually,
just that screams go to the movies.
well,
But
no.
continue.
Typically, what happens is when we go away, we save a bunch of horror and thriller movies for that trip.
It screams first act in a movie in which you're about to be murdered, you and your wife at a
Yeah,
lake
but
by
we know.
Jason Voorhees.
I'm final boy. I always live.
So true. We've talked about it so many times. I was just saying before we started recording, I have no idea why we have not done 1996 yet as a movie draft on this show.
Yeah.
1996
Incredible.
is an awesome movie year.
Awesome year.
This is when things were good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things were awesome. We can talk about who we were at that time. Chris, in 1996, what were you up to?
Me and my friend Richard Jewell, we were both.
Jesus
Excuse
Christ.
me, I'm right here.
There's only one Atlanta resident sitting at this table today.
I was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've played in those fountains many times since.
Would
who
you
was I?
would you step up in a situation like that?
Step up as Richard Jewell did for his own
Yeah.
What do you
defense.
think he's going to be like stepping? There was no stepping up. Everybody was.
Well, he was doing his work. He was
Yeah.
doing his job.
Oh,
Wrongly accused, as Clint Eastwood showed us in his marvelous film
By
Richard
female
Jewell.
journalists.
Yes. Sometimes there's a woman and she's a liar. You know, that happens.
Oh my God.
Clint, wow, still got it.
When's Juror coming out?
I think next year.
Fuck.
They're
Oh,
number 2. I
that's
think
sad.
early 2025. Not ideal on
Yeah.
the
Okay.
release calendar. Not exactly what you want.
I saw
for-
Presence, the Soderbergh thing is getting kicked to next year too.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
Yeah.
Who was I in 96? Is that the question?
That's the question.
Living at home and loving it right after high school, decided to
Hey, same.
go to Temple University and enroll in the film school. That lasted several weeks until this is actually pretty funny. And
I've never gotten this
Frenchie.
story.
I was going to say, I did not know that Temple
One of
had
the
a film school.
first assignments was we're going to make each individual is going to make an animated film by drawing, like frames on a film strip, and we're going to project them.
Yeah.
And I refused. I refused. Now, did it come from a place of insecurity because I'm not really good at drawing and also found it tedious and don't really react well to tedious,
Here we have
the original wound?
We have Bruce Madeline here. Now we understand. Truly revealing the layer, peeling the onion.
The funny thing is the idea that like I don't like animation because I can't do it, but all the films I do like are things I can do.
Yeah.
Like I could rob a bank.
You could have made Terminator 2
Yeah,
if you wanted
for
to.
sure.
Yeah, that wasn't the issue.
I often point to the LA River and I'm just like, he missed some angles there. But yeah, I was in film school briefly, switched over to journalism school.
Mm-hmm.
Was living at home and working at a music magazine, and was very immersed in music, but somehow managed to see like 60 movies this year. I was going to the movies a lot. And it was just like an awesome time because it was a huge, still like thriving video store culture. Indie movie art house in the post kind of Tarantino world was thriving. And also you had like 3 movies a week to go see at the Cineplex.
It did feel that way. Were you going to the movies a lot at this time?
Yeah. So I turned 12.
Mm.
And in my memory, this seems to have been the year where instead of being accompanied by an adult to the mall, to the movies, I got to be dropped off. And so I saw a lot of these, especially the summer movies, alone or like with friends, without parental supervision in the summer. And I still remember the anxiety of, my parents being like, well, you can't see PG-13 because you'll have to lie. And I'm like, chill out, lawyers. But we made it work. But so this is the year where if like 95 was like my breakthrough year of just being like, oh, movies, which was, that was like Clueless and Sense and Sensibility. And I was like almost old enough.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is like, I just started seeing a lot of movies and I saw grown-up movies, but I still also was like front row center for Matilda, Like I think Matilda and Emma came out the same day. And it's like the 2 Amandas. So also
the child and the lady.
Yeah, exactly.
The Richard and the Jewel.
Listen, having the Olympics in your city, except for that sad event.
I bet it was sick.
It was cool in 96. I don't know whether I want to do it again in LA.
Did you or anybody in your family volunteer as like a docent for the Olympics? Or?
Yes. I, 11 years old, was a docent. No, but we did get to go to things. And it's like the bike races were kind of going through Atlanta. So that was one where you like just walked a few blocks or like parked at a friend's house and you didn't even have to have tickets. Got really into handball.
Oh yeah.
Which was fun live. So that was fun and festive until it became, a national nightmare for Richard Jewell. But I don't know. I felt like maybe this is the first year where I felt plugged into like pop culture, like a grown up pop culture as well as
Definitely.
as teenage stuff. And also it was just like an amazing movie year. I was thinking this morning, so 97 and 98 or 97's amazing too, and 98. And it's really the Star Wars prequels in 99 that just ruin it, right?
The movie culture at large?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair theory.
I know we've like reclaimed the prequels and like, no, actually they're good and,
I have
filmmaker,
done no
but
such thing. Yeah.
let's turn it back around again because it's, that dips into like all of the history and the fan stuff, and also capitalizes on all of us just like being hooked to watching things at home 4,000 times again. But in 96, it was new, pure, ridiculous things.
I think your elder millennial is showing a bit.
That's
I
fine.
mean, I think that obviously it's just like your favorite band is the band that you discovered when you were 13.
Yes.
And, these are seminal years for Chris's film schoolwork, and also seminal years for you and I in terms of our adolescence and developing taste. And so, this is a big one. I just had this experience of talking about being 12, just like you were 12 in this year in the Pulp Fiction podcast, and how 12 is this like major access point where you're like emerging from the Matildas and into the Emmas. You're moving on from the childish thing into the mature thing.
From Goonies to Reservoir Dogs.
That's what it would have been.
Yeah.
And in this year, the movie for me that was like that was Scream. Because Scream, a movie I've talked about probably ad nauseum on this show. There's a rewatchables about it many years ago. One of the big hits of the year. But the early to mid 90s was kind of a morbid time in horror. And horror, maybe, perhaps my favorite genre. And then this is the movie that like kickstarted it hard. And then I remember very specifically getting into, funny, Bill Simmons was just texting us about the movie Urban Legend.
Yeah.
Which was a late 90s horror movie with a cast of young stars.
Jared Leto, I think, is in
Jared
that.
Leto, Tara Reid, Alicia Witt, a handful of others. But like that was a moment, like I Know What You Did Last Summer's the following year. And then it kicked off this wave again of movies that got me very excited about that stuff. And that's related to the Pulp Fiction stuff that you're talking about. And it's also a great blockbuster period. It's a pretty good Oscar period here. We're seeing it through the rose-tinted lenses of our youth. And that's part of the exercise of this show. But this one in particular felt special.
So I wanted to ask whether you guys have had the same sensation looking back over the list of movies where so many films, great movies on their own and as texts, also were significant, if not big, like commercially significant to us culturally because of their soundtrack or because of the careers they launched or because of some ripple effect that came out of the movie but hasn't necessarily propped the film itself up, but now weirdly is recurring in 2024 or across the last couple of decades.
What's an example of that?
Well, anything as big as Scream, which obviously has spawned half a dozen films and a kind of a whole genre unto itself, this self-reflexive horror, subgenre, to something as small as like Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, which was like a huge soundtrack for indie rock at the time. And there's a bunch of really great soundtracks from this year. There's a bunch of careers that get launched in this year. And there's a bunch of franchises, some unwittingly, that start this year. And so it turns out that this is like a hugely important catapult or trampoline for a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily the film. It's like everything that came out of the movie. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
In many cases, though, I think those franchises were launched because the originals were really good.
Yeah.
Like Mission Impossible is really good. There was going to always be a second Mission Impossible after that first one hit.
But weirdly, if you watch Mission Impossible 1, the idea that you would be getting Fallout and Dead Reckoning now was A, unfathomable, and B, that they would look and feel the way they did compared to what Mission Impossible was like.
That's interesting. What, like, the idea of legacy probably only existed within the Bond franchise at this time? Were there any franchises in 1996 that had 30-year lifespans? I mean, obviously Star Wars would come soon in the 90s in a sort of revival.
Were they doing Jurassic Park? Is this just like a miss of the Jurassic Park sequels?
This was right after The Lost World, I think, is 95. Okay. So, no, they hadn't really gotten those, like, really going hard. Anyway, I mean, it's an interesting observation.
There were Batmans.
There were?
They weren't.
There had been 2 Batman movies. Yeah.
And Supermans, right? And all
maybe
of that
3.
stuff.
Maybe Batman Forever had come out in 95 as well. I can't quite recall.
Is that the one with Poison Ivy? I think it's 97.
Okay.
I think all of that also contributed to a feeling like, for as fun as it was to go and find a David O. Russell movie or a Danny Boyle movie, it was also like the big movies felt like they lasted for a huge chunk of the year because they lived on with the music or with like trends that they started or captured or documented or whatever. And so there are films here that like are among the most influential to me in terms of like dictating what I listened to for the rest of my life, like, or, like things like that, which is like beyond just like, a movie about young men trying to figure out who they are in Scotland. It's like, no, this is about like Blur and it's like, like all this other stuff.
Yeah, everything felt more connected,
Yeah.
I guess, is really what you're saying. I think that's true. I don't know what it specifically was. Like, I'm always a little reluctant to valorize it too much because it's still like corporate concern gets movies made. You know what I mean? Like the things that is motivating it. So like, why was it a time? And some of it is just happenstance that a year they can have like Fargo, The English Patient, Jerry Maguire, Scream, The Rock, Mission Impossible, Independence Day. The versions of the movies that came out were the good versions.
Mhm.
They were the highest level versions in most cases. So it's a rich text.
You were 14?
I was 14.
What was the summer job at that base? Was that Abercrombie?
I never worked at Abercrombie. I worked at J.
J.
Crew.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Wow.
I in fact like Abercrombie was like having a house in the Hamptons. I was like, who can afford to wear these clothes at this time?
J. Crew was pretty expensive.
I was only able to get J. Crew clothing because I worked at J.
there.
Crew and
Yeah,
got
yeah,
a discount.
yeah.
We had a little thing going with Banana Republic amongst a friend group.
A little thing.
Just I mean,
money
I don't
laundering
want to
ring,
incriminate
or-
anyone, but it was like a little bit of like a staff discount, then you would return it at full price.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a crime. You should be investigated. Statute of limitations up for
I think
that?
it's up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I didn't say I participated in it. I just said we had a little thing going.
Interesting.
I did not work at Banana Republic.
When I was 14, I was a baseball umpire for Little League
I did not know this was a job for you.
It's
for 3
That-
years.
the most logical job he's ever
No, I
had.
know, and I'm like, I feel really sorry for all of those children.
Have thrown out not one, not two, but 3 parents in my time as an umpire.
Yeah, I'll
like
bet.
ejected them from the park,
Do you think you'll go back to that if Alice decides to play softball?
but just be her umpire, not her coach.
But throwing out her friends' parents from games.
I would welcome it. I gotta say, I do really like Alice's friends' parents. I did not expect to be able to say that, but I really
That's
do.
nice.
It is nice. It's been a
Okay.
nice revelation in my life. Umpiring is a hard job.
How often did you get yelled at by 9-year-olds?
Every game.
Yeah.
The 9-year-olds not so much. The 9-year-olds are very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
If they get frustrated, they run to their coach or their parent. They don't yell at the umpire. They haven't yet, or at least in my experience, they hadn't yet learned that.
Right.
But the parents are brutal motherfuckers,
Yeah,
and those people should be put to death.
Right.
Like those people who yell at 14-year-olds who are umpiring baseball games because they're mad that their 9-year-old, grounded out to second base. Yo,
No, I know,
That's
but I think
straight
it's
to jail.
it's still going. It's only gotten worse. We
Yeah.
tend to watch some Little League baseball near the park,
mhm.
and those parents are not.
They're not
relaxed.
okay.
They're just
Everybody's got a distortion field around them where they think their kid is going to be Ellie De La Cruz, and it's not going to happen. And you should just let your kid have fun and learn team sports.
Yeah. I'm obviously like really tightly wound about a lot of things and very competitive, but that's something that I don't feel I'm going to struggle with. Like if I honestly don't, I actually think maybe Eileen will be more of a hard liner in terms of like,
Well, I mean, she was the
athlete.
she's
Yeah.
the more experienced athlete.
Yeah.
It's not really going to matter for Amanda because she's going to have the Giambis. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. You guys are just going straight to the pros.
Yeah.
There's no.
No, but like I do think Zach will be the one getting thrown out.
yes, you will.
Don't
I-
yeah.
I-
Of course.
I
Like
agree.
I'm glad that we're all
I
agreed on
agree on
that.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
like obviously I'm a hothead and I get mad at a lot of
There's
people.
definitely
but
going to be some
in that just
some days when me and Sean are like, it's okay,
Yeah.
Tiger. Let's just live to fight another day, huh?
Let's go get a lemonade.
Yeah. Let's just walk it off.
oh my god.
So umpiring, yeah, that was my job. That was
I learn new things about
really
you
my
every
first,
day.
really my first job.
Okay.
Aside from like doing chores and getting
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
allowance. And then a life of retail and a life of unloading trucks. and
Right.
It's a tale as old as time. 1996, I was using that money that I made from umpiring though to go to the movies. I think that the Walt Whitman movie theater, which was a single theater at the mall down the 5-minute walk from my home, was still open at that time. I think it was.
single theater.
What's that?
I miss a single theater.
It
Or
was
like
nice.
a 3 theater. That's a good one.
I like a 3 as well, but the single really did what you were describing a little bit.
Yeah.
We're sort of like eventized. It was like, what's the movie
Yeah.
that I can walk to, that I can get into? And sometimes there would be an attendant at the movie theater where I could get into an R-rated movie. And sometimes there wasn't. There was somebody
Yeah.
who wouldn't let me in. So that also mattered, like what was playing there. But I saw a lot. I was in the movies a lot. This is this is I think it's because of what you're describing too, where it's like you can actually go with your friends.
Yeah.
And like stay all day. Like I definitely started seeing 2 movies a day around this
Did you
time
pay
in my
for
life
the
too.
second ticket?
I've definitely snuck into a lot of movies in my time.
That's also a crime.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Should we go to jail together?
Yeah.
Where should we go to jail?
I got a text message the other day from Gavin Newsom.
Did you?
It said, "Hey Chris, this is Gavin Newsom. I hope you listen to my new episode of my podcast.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
It's about something I truly didn't understand until I became governor. ... San Quentin."
Wow.
And I was like,
Did you listen?
seems like one of the top 5 things you would be like, let's
see
get
what's
San
happening
Quentin.
here.
Like I want to get my hands on
Yeah.
this thing.
One of many things that distinguishes Gavin Newsom from Johnny Cash.
Yeah, and then so San Quentin is also, I believe, the fictional in Heat lore.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Neil has been. I think maybe he's Joe Folsom. I can't remember, but
So
in
you
any
want
case,
to go to San Quentin
wherever
with
Neil
me
Macaulay
because of our
was
teenage
supposed
crimes.
to have gone. Yeah,
You want to stay in his cell.
yeah.
Do you know that Neil Macaulay's not real?
But he did a lot of reading while he was there. That's where he got into Marxism, and
Yeah,
I
and
feel like-
medals as well.
Yeah, I thought that would be great for us, and then we could start our own podcast with Gavin Newsom,
In
the imprisoned picture, the
okay.
incarcerated picture, and it's us three.
Incarcerated picture is a good
Yeah.
idea.
That's the perspective we're lacking
Yeah.
in the world on film and on incarceration. You guys didn't respond when I was like, I saw a Heat t-shirt at the pool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think I was just busy.
Do you feel, I didn't
with a
know whether it was
3-year-old.
like too close for you, you know?
Was it
that's
me
like-
in the Heat t-shirt?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't, but it was like another dad
Yeah.
in a Heat t-shirt at the, with the toddlers at the pool. And I was like, wow, here we all are together,
I mean, we're in that era. We're
Yeah.
in that phase of
I know.
life. I've just come from interviewing 2 filmmakers who were much younger than me, and I've never felt older.
Yeah.
And it is all hitting us. But you know what? I was young in 1996. I was wide-eyed. Should we draft?
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question about your young self?
Please.
Did you were either of you persnickety about genre? Like you were obviously like a kid, so were you up for anything, or were you like?
I mean, I think I definitely
Had
still
preferences?
I mean, I'm myself, so I think I've had preferences since, I came to this earth.
Mm.
But I both had preferences of
Who empowered that? Who encouraged it?
aren't you learning every day that it comes built in
It
and
does.
you just have
It
to
does
reckon
sound
with
like
it?
the angel
Yes.
Gabriel brought you down.
No, but I definitely this was like still a good age for teen movies and kids movies and movies, featuring women. So and also like my parents were strict. So I don't think I was seeing a lot of our movies in the theaters.
Okay.
Because I was still afraid of trying to sneak in.
I mean, for lack of a better phrase, I think girl stuff was not something I was
Yeah.
pursuing as a 14-year-old boy. I think I definitely wasn't like, I need to see Mike Leigh's Secrets and Lies. Even though it was an Oscar film.
Sure.
And it turned out to be an amazing film. At 14, I had other things on my mind.
So Secrets and Lies is right there for me.
Yeah.
It would have been in 1996, but is it
No,
today?
in the draft.
But is it today?
Well, I just
have I seen the light?
and now you've learned to appreciate
Could
Mike Leigh's
be.
artistry.
I think I also, I didn't really have a ton of access to like Breaking the Waves.
Mhm.
Like I knew that it was a movie that was widely acclaimed, but like a sensitive, I guess I actually like strafing art house movie, I wasn't really ready for anything like that. I
Yeah.
remember being mad about the movie Shine, which is something I also expressed on the Jerry Maguire rewatchables. and
Well,
just being
yeah,
like,
it's one of the great Oscar travesties.
yeah. And so I was like, I won't be watching that movie.
I think that I do think I saw it, but I was mad about it because this was in the like my parents pushing heavy on the performing arts stuff,
Sure.
and I was like, "Fuck the piano," like I don't.
Also,
like-
the guy in Shine was kind of like fuck the piano.
I
Too,
mean,
right?
among
That's
us, yeah.
true. Yeah.
Is that what does he fuck the piano?
No,
in the
but
movie?
I sometimes I get confused about Shine and
American
Glenn
Pie.
Gould
Okay.
and American Pie.
But I did also have to, I went to like arts camp this summer.
What's a big eye-opening movie for me from this year, and maybe someone will draft it because it's a great movie, was The Birdcage,
Oh yeah,
which is a little bit of a like, I didn't know you could do that kind of a movie.
Yeah.
And
Like a zany
the
farce.
tone of it,
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously it was an adaptation of a French film, but I think it's also critical to like see stuff like that, see Waiting for Guffman, see Welcome to the Dollhouse,
Yeah.
see movies where you're like, oh, this is not a studio movie, or if it is a subversion of something that a studio movie would be. Anyway, before we mention too many movie titles, maybe we should just get to it. So Jack Sanders is filling in on the draft order. Jack, are you prepared to reveal that right now?
Bobby sent it to you.
Yes, he did.
Yes, and I just want to, and we asked Alea also. Bobby sent it to Alea. Alea declined.
I was on the group message.
Oh, you were? Okay. All right. Okay.
I was not excluded.
I want to include everyone and also state everyone's preferences as to whether they want to be the voice of God or not. But you're comfortable.
I'm comfortable.
Okay. Thank you so much. What is the draft order?
Drafting first, Sean Fennessey.
Damn it.
Let's go.
Second, Chris Ryan.
Ugh.
And third,
Okay.
Amanda Dobbins.
I don't think I've
That's fine.
been second for a while.
You turn 40 as a woman in America, and then
That's right. They forget you.
It's just
Did you turn 40?
yeah.
You did.
The roles really dry up for you.
It's really just no one remembers you. No,
What's
the phone
different?
doesn't ring.
What is different? The phone doesn't ring.
Next thing you know, you're tweeting about DoorDash.
What? How, like, is it the first time she'd ever used
It
it?
seems
This is
like
a
I
time
honestly
capsule
thought she got
situation?
hacked. This is a Jessica
Jessica
Chastain.
Chastain. Yeah.
Like on the day.
I won't be having any slander.
It was
of
it
my
was
lady.
the day
She
after
was
Charlie
she got absolutely
XX's
rocked
birthday
in the
party.
responses.
I thought the last part of her message was very funny, where she was like, "What are we using these days, gang?"
Yeah, let me know in the comments. Is something I think I'd like to see you employ.
I'm gonna lean into that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
What do you guys want to see more of on the big picture? Let me know. In hell.
There's not a consensus number one here, is there?
No, there are some categories that are thinner than others.
Yeah, and there are some things you might want.
I don't really know what to do.
Okay.
I certainly know there are 3 movies I would say that I feel very strongly about that I'd like to have. Actually, maybe 4.
Okay. Then I think you should pick one of those.
Well, I will at some point when I decide it's time. But I haven't decided on that time yet.
Do you feel like this was a year that you had no issues with category? You'd be like, oh God, I'll be happy to get any one of 8 movies in all these different categories.
I wouldn't say that, but I wouldn't say any of my categories feel thin.
And nothing.
I will say comedy feels overwhelmingly full for me.
Yeah.
Well, this is a little bit of an age difference where I think for you probably it was like that was still there. Your level of humor was being very played to, whereas I, as a more erudite kind of Whit Stillman kind of guy,
totally
at the
yes.
time. Look at your face.
Definitely, you were.
I was just
a
like,
sophisticate.
are you gonna just be like, I don't think Happy Gilmore is funny?
I think Happy Gilmore's funny. Yeah.
Wow.
Not invited to the Happy Gilmore rewatchables. You may recall he was not on that one.
I've let it be known that Sandler is not my jam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, disgusting. Like a vile opinion.
Is it weirder that I don't like Adam Sandler, or that you don't like cream cheese?
I like a sweetened cream cheese.
We asked Sean earlier.
And I like a dramatic Sandler. You know?
We asked Sean if he eats cream cheese, and he responded on a cake, yes, on a bagel, no, which is insane. We really
First
should.
of all, it's just a great answer.
We should.
Honestly,
I know. We should have a TikTok account that is just your
This is a good
weird,
take.
your weird food opinions. You know?
I know that people want it too.
Yeah.
I want to hear it, but I'm keeping it. I'm holding it for myself.
Have you
Unless
started
share it.
eating broccoli yet?
Imagine if I was like, I'm 42. I've decided it's broccoli time.
Well, I don't know. You're raising a child and trying
She
to teach
eats
her
it.
to. Yeah.
She's doing great.
Okay.
I'm not eating it. No.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
interested. I'm a pretty good vegetable eater, just not a good broccoli eater.
I mean, you just eat sugar candy.
I do eat a lot of sugar
I
candy.
know.
What was I eating when I saw the movie I'm going to select?
Do you know what I've noticed over these drafts is that we're pretty good about making Oscar noms something from the big 6, pretty much.
We do. We have done that.
Yeah.
Even
You're
though
not
you
going to
don't
do
have
that this
to.
year?
I'm not breaking that. I
Okay.
just was noting that we do that, and that this year, weirdly, way down the line in Oscar noms, you can find
Oh yeah.
some of the bigger films.
That is very true.
I will, even if it's an unwritten rule, it's a rule that I'll follow,
Okay.
especially with the ump here. You know,
So you won't be drafting Evita.
I will not be drafting.
I saw that in theaters. I was there for my girl.
Boy, this is really tearing you apart. It's been a while since I've seen you so uncertain.
I don't know what the right move is. I genuinely don't.
Okay.
And these 4 films are all very meaningful to me, and I love them.
Okay. That's exciting because you get to pick one.
You want me to pick?
I just don't want to hear from you like later on being like, you guys were supposed to vamp.
Are you
When-
happy to be drafting first today?
No, clearly. I'd like to be forced
Do
to
you
make a
like
decision.
flavored cream cheese?
Baby got his bottle.
Is it like a
Oh yeah,
mayo
if I
aioli
had been
thing?
like I have a
You know what
bagel
I
with
also
blueberry
like is
cream
a,
cheese.
is a vegan cream cheese.
So you'll have that on a bagel?
I will.
So it's
more,
not the
it's more like a
texture?
hummus.
I think
yeah.
that's really fucked up personally. But is it like a tofu cream cheese?
I'm not sure what's
It's
what's
cashew.
in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
cashew.
usually-
Oh,
it's
it's
cashew. That's
cashew?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not what I do.
Are you back on regular milk now? Or are you still
I don't really drink milk at all. I just use oat milk for a creamer.
Right.
Sometimes
a
I also
latte?
use Coffee Mate when they're
Okay.
and when it's around. But
Okay. Where are you on ice cream these days, Sean?
I think I'm lactose intolerant, so I just think I can't.
are you
really have it.
psychologically lactose intolerant, or
I
is
just
it a
don't
physical
feel
condition?
well when I drink milk or eat ice cream. So that seems to be
mean,
I feel like that's it, right?
That is indicative. Yeah.
So I love ice cream. If I
Okay.
could eat ice cream every day, I would do it. It's delicious.
They have like lactate and stuff.
I've tried that. I did try the. Who recommended to us? Did you recommend to me the?
the Oatly.
No. Well, this is not. Let's not say we did.
I do like the Oatly ice cream.
It's
sometimes.
fine. It's a little sandy.
It's better as like with cobbler or something else. You don't want it on its own.
I don't was like you're saying it's 4. I think it's 2, and you should just pick one of the 2, and then I'll pick the second one.
It's
Wow,
It's not.
thanks
that,
so
it's
much.
Not, I'm taking. I actually think the thinnest category is drama,
Okay.
and I'm taking Jerry Maguire in drama.
Okay.
What
Do
do
you find
you
it?
think
I
the other
mean,
3 are?
You could also
That's a
would you have-
romantic comedy, but like
Yeah, I was
whatever.
gonna say,
and a
wouldn't you
sports
also
movie,
say it's
but
kind of a
it's
comedy?
fine.
It is a movie about a man torn asunder.
Yeah, but
It is
then
it
it
is
all
a
works
dramatic
out.
film.
And
Does it?
yeah,
Well, it
Well,
sounds like you didn't listen to our rewatchables.
I did actually,
'cause
and
the-
I agree that
Z
eventually
Wantaneo,
things things take a turn. But
they gonna
you
hold
complete
on?
me, and Bruce Springsteen keeps playing, and the kid gets health insurance. I hope.
And the
That's
kid has a friggin' arm cannon too now.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we
yeah.
have
That's a
to
good point.
keep an
Yeah.
eye on that.
That's right. Speaking of,
I wonder if
coaching him
that
up.
kid's fictional baseball career would have come and gone by now.
Lipnicki,
Yeah, so he's how old in 96?
7.
89, so he would be in it, like kind of the end of his prime if he was in his baseball career, right?
But was he a lefty?
Well, also, like, did he have Tommy John prematurely?
But he could have been a Jamie Moyer type. Pitched well
Oh,
into his
that's
early
right.
40s.
We don't see a lot of guys like that. I'm going to take, is it my turn?
Yeah.
I'll take Fargo and Oscar nom.
Wow. Okay.
This was my.
Great movie.
Yeah, and I'll never
Interesting.
forget. Perhaps the thing that unlocked this podcast for many is Sean's description of the shots in Fargo and the Deacon's draft of the headlights coming over the snowy landscape.
That Paul Bunyan, that
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan statue. That's cinema to me.
That
Yeah.
was like 5 years ago at
Yeah.
this point. Does that make you feel old?
What doesn't?
Yeah, it's true.
What
Makes
doesn't
me
at
feel
this
young.
point?
It
We get,
does.
to, we get to do this for a living.
Oh my god. Okay.
Who's luckier than us?
The thing is you actually do feel that way, and I love you for it. Thank you so much. Fargo is a 5-star masterpiece.
It's really good.
Shot by Roger Deakins, written and directed by the Coen brothers, not based on a true story. Don't believe that title card, friends.
And has become a franchise, which I never,
yeah.
I never, ever would
You
have
know
guessed.
what? I didn't realize that that's what you were saying, but you're right. I didn't realize that was one of the examples that you were indicating.
Yeah.
And we have Fargo to thank for Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons. And
Oh my God!
yeah,
See,
so that's beautiful. It's
Thank
all
you to
coming
them.
together.
I did not watch the most recent season of Fargo.
I have not seen a season of Fargo.
I do like Juno Temple, though, so maybe I will.
I did read one of Noah Hawley's books.
the airplane one.
No, the one before that. Well, maybe it was an airplane one too. It was about media. It was about like Roger Ailes
Didn't
or
know that.
something.
Noah Hawley wrote a book about Roger Ailes?
Well,
Like
it
a
was like a novel. It wasn't actually Roger Ailes. It was fictionalized, but maybe there
I
was
see.
also a plane.
Okay.
Obviously, it stayed with me. I have 2 picks.
You do.
So in action horror thriller, I will take Scream, which I definitely saw. Not in theaters. I watched it in my Aunt Betty's basement in Knoxville, Tennessee. Was scared shitless.
Yeah, that opening scene must have
Um,
fucking cooked
Oh
your
my
noodle.
god, yeah. And I mean, listen, but it was. I understand that it's an homage to every horror movie under the sun, but it was also like my first horror movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people.
And also like generationally, just like, hello, welcome to your meta adulthood. And then in Blockbuster, I shall take Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma and starring Tom Cruise. I can't believe I got both of those.
And also,
I get it,
yeah.
but I think I probably, I don't know whether if I had first picked, I would have done Maguire or Mission Impossible, but I see where you're going.
Those were the 4 movies that I
Yeah.
was thinking of. They all went in the
They're the
first
big
4
ones.
picks. Those are the big ones.
You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
At 3, you never know, and now I think you slungshot out to a lead.
I mean, I don't know about that. I like both of the movies that you guys picked.
Who
Mission
of us will be
Impossible.
Noah Lyles?
Oh yeah.
Racing from behind.
Did you see that I won the voting for the Blockbuster or the 2000s Blockbusters draft?
see? Did you happen
You know,
across that
Sean,
piece of
I didn't.
information?
Well, I thought it was funny because in the room, obviously everybody was like, Amanda won when we asked the crowd.
Oh,
Like-
for
like
the live show?
overwhelmed- yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I
didn't know that.
wanted to ask you, you didn't notice that when we were at the show, when we did the show?
that there was voting.
Well, like when we were like,
there's,
well, who do you guys
who
think
won?
won?
And everyone cheered for me.
Everyone
Yeah.
cheered for Amanda.
Yeah.
But
But
then
in-
Amanda got her doors blown off in the
Oh,
voting.
wow.
So
So
what
when
does
the-
that mean? What do you
when
think
the
that-
mail-in
what do you think that
ballots came in?
represents? Yeah, when we counted it
Yeah,
up, when we
that
made
there-
sure that the machines worked,
That there are a lot of losers on Twitter.
or winners such as myself.
I mean,
Have you considered that?
listen. That's how you choose to spend
You
your
abandoned
time.
Threads and you're only on X now.
I'm on Instagram.
You're not on X?
I look at it, but I basically.
But do you have it?
No, I still do. Like I type
Do you-
it into the Safari browser.
I don't know what that accomplishes for you. I don't know why that's good.
X.co.
Well, no, it's saved.
It
now.
autofills now.
But it is really annoying because I still type twitter.com and for many, many months it switched. And now it just wants to bring up the menu for Tui's, which is a wonderful diner in South Pasadena with a great ice cream sundae in case anyone's looking for that. That's where I was when I found out that Joe Biden dropped out of the race.
Oh, and you wanted to
Keep
tell
in mind
everybody.
that we're taping this in the past.
What
for
if
the future.
by now he's gotten
that's
back
what
in?
I'm saying.
Yeah.
What if Joe was like, I'm not
who could
done?
know?
That's what Trump said he was going to do. He was
think-
going to storm the convention.
Sleepy Joe?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
That would be exciting.
Anyway, so now I have to it usually is in remembered recent searches, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So I don't actually have to type the X, but I still call it Twitter.
So you took Mission Impossible, and what was the other one?
Scream,
Scream.
an action horror
Right.
thriller. Do you think Twitter will still exist by the time this goes out into the world?
Yeah. I don't think society can live without it.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't.
I know, but just Elon
I think I could live without it.
I think that the denizens of it that drive
Yeah.
the narratives of the world right now could not live without it. I'm
Yeah.
being 100% sincere.
Are you one of them?
Yes, says the man who
I don't tweet about things.
just votes for himself 8,000 times on Twitter.
No, that's not possible. In fact, I don't think you can do a poll. What's the polling thing?
I think you can't do polls unless you have a blue check mark.
That's
Yeah.
what I was.
Yeah.
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 Do you have a blue check mark?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I would not.
Have
pay
you
for
checked
Twitter.
lately? Maybe they gave you one back because you're
I
such
think
a
they
devoted
did
loser.
start doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Why
to
don't you
me.
look right now?
Do I have one right now?
Yeah, look. See if you have one. This is exciting.
There's no way I'm going to have one. I do not have one.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I think they did. There was a time when people were like, why do I have a check mark?
Yeah. No, that's why I thought it was possible.
I think they were also
then the
virtue
FBI would
signaling
come
where they
in
were like,
and-
just so you
and
know,
take
I haven't
you away.
bent my knee to Elon.
I pull out a blazer from like a windbreaker.
If this has been an inside job, an investigation for the last 7 years, that's really something.
Amanda's actually a Banana Republic security guard. This entire thing.
It's like Phil Baker Hall from Seinfeld investigating the library books.
She's going to
Yeah.
leave her family when the job is done. This was all like a Americans style farce.
Poor Knox has to go back
Yeah.
to
Yeah, back to
stuff.
Russia.
Back to
Yeah,
Russia.
Yuri. It's
Yo,
tough.
that
Back to
was
the Banana
really,
Republic. Yeah.
Really, really tough stuff.
Going back to Russia.
Those two kids.
Oh, and the Americans.
Yeah, no, in real life.
Yeah, the ones for the Evan swap.
Oh, yeah, that's not, yeah.
They just found out they were Russian on the plane back, and then suddenly they have to hug Putin. Anyway.
Well, you've hugged Putin. What's it like?
Only in prison on the incarcerated
Kiss you on the
picture.
mouth. Yeah.
Okay.
You have a pick, Chris.
I have a pick. Sheesh. Gosh, I'm trying to go head versus heart here. And in drama, I'll take Trainspotting.
That was hard, right?
It was.
But also
It's
heck,
early.
yeah. No,
Is
you need
Train
it.
Spotting a drama?
It's a black comedy,
Is Jerry Maguire a drama?
but it's darker.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think Trainspotting is darker than Jerry Maguire, which you drafted in drama, right?
It is darker,
Yes.
but
Both have happy endings, I suppose, for one character, right?
sort of.
Yeah. Renton gets away.
Yeah.
I'm picking this. It's probably a little early for this, but I am picking it mostly because of like, in my world at the time, this was like a bomb going off. Like I couldn't believe how important this movie was to me. The music, especially, was like I listened to this soundtrack so much this year and became obsessed with several bands on it. And
This is like the origin myth of the Watch, the podcast, right?
yeah, this is where I
Yeah.
met Andy outside of
That's right.
a Trainspotting.
Yeah.
When Trainspotting, the night it came out, I was on
Mhm.
mushrooms and I was like,
I never miss an episode,
thanks, bud.
even when you talk about dragons. You know?
Only fleetingly. So yeah, Trainspotting. Drama.
Did you immediately shoot heroin together?
No.
Okay.
The Chris Ryan is a junkie thing is pretty funny though, that this is now on multiple podcasts.
Gotta have bits. Okay. Train Spotting, a very true to you pick, Chris.
Do you like this movie?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm not like a cult member, but I do.
And you
I
like
do
this
really
film?
like it.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw it like, 10, 15 years later.
Okay.
'Cause I was 12.
Right.
You know?
In Blockbuster, I will be taking Independence Day.
Yeah.
Which is
You have to.
I think the signature blockbuster of the year. The highest grossing movie of that year, right?
Believe so.
I think it was.
We used to be a country.
It made $306 million.
And then the aliens, blew up the White House.
Yep.
That's right.
So
Yep.
It's no longer-
This was where Will Smith learned to strike another man in this
Right.
film when he struck an alien and said, "Welcome."
You don't
to
think he
Earth."
had ever encountered physical
No
violence
violence
before in his life?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
none whatsoever.
Do you think he thinks that Chris Rock is an alien? And it was just
No.
fulfilling his destiny?
No, I think just got some practice in
It's
that
Captain
time.
Mike Johnson.
Well,
or
then
whatever his
in
name was?
Ali, he obviously got
Yeah.
really good
Mhm.
at striking other men. Independence Day is great.
it's so good.
Like it's really fun.
On July 4th, I was at a barbecue that it was just on a loop. So I had the experience of
What
watching
barbecue was this?
the
You were at
one I
my
went to
house.
before you, and then it was on on a loop, and I saw it 1.5 times.
Because instead of participating in the barbecue, you just sat.
No,
and watched
I was
Independence
just
Day?
walking around. I
Okay.
was doing my
Right,
laps.
checking in. Did everyone go quiet for the bullhorn speech?
There was a lot of attention paid though.
Yeah.
It was
It's- I mean,
let's get fired up.
it's really, really important.
In action horror thriller,
Mm-hmm.
I will be selecting The Rock,
God damn it.
which I think is the best action movie in Michael Bay's career.
Okay.
It's probably the best action movie of this year, give or take Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't strictly think of Mission Impossible as an action movie.
Then he lowers down.
The set pieces are incredible.
God
Don't get me
damn
wrong.
it, Sean.
Well, I think Amanda drafted very well with those first two picks, so it put me in a little bit of a bind.
And now you're putting me in a bigger bind.
Yeah.
Well, you're not putting me in a bind as much as now I have to pick something. Well, first you can speak about The Rock, which is an incredible film, and
Just so fun. Just a really fun memory of going to the movies and feeling like, and honestly, maybe not understanding Sean Connery's iconography when I saw that
Mhm.
movie,
Right.
and that it being a kind of entry point into discovering why the movie works even better than I realized at the time. He was just an old Scottish guy at the time, Scottish guy?
Scottish.
And obviously Nicolas Cage coming off of the Oscar win and making this big pivot to becoming an action star while still maintaining the kind of like nerdy doctor attitude, because it would have been so hard to accept Nick Cage as an action star. Now we just take it for granted. He's just beating the shit out of people.
Did
in
this
movies.
introduce you to Ed Harris?
Apollo 13
Yeah.
probably?
Mm.
The vest wipes the little tear. God, that movie's so good.
I'm sure I saw
I'm
something
still
else
mad
with
at
Ed
Ron
Harris
Howard,
before it.
but it's really good.
But his willingness
Did you see an original
to
production of
shoot
True
missiles.
West?
No, I didn't. I was 4 years old at the Steppenwolf Theater. The Rock is great. It's kind of the absurdity of it is part of what makes it great. I felt this way when we were talking about Trap, where I'm like, sometimes you just got to go to a movie and it's not realistic and it's a lot of fun. You know, the idea of taking over Alcatraz and aiming missiles at the United States.
And saving yourself from
I see that happening.
Chemical weapon explosion by stabbing yourself with neon green antidote, which I guess maybe you could, but I'm not going to test it.
No, but just a tremendously fun movie. And
Are they shooting those missiles at a Giants game?
Or I think so. I think that was the idea.
A San Francisco Giants or a Niners game?
I think it was a baseball game.
I
mean, it's The Rock is great.
Candlestick Park?
It was then Candlestick Park, but they don't play there anymore.
So because of the way things have shaken out, I got to take a blockbuster, personally, because this is the last of the blockbusters that I would be willing to take. So I'll take Twister, which I feel like in this podcast, I've noticed a couple of passing shots at the 1996 Twister.
Didn't care for it then, don't really care for it now.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked the new one.
Yeah. Did you guys both say it was better than Twister?
I did say
think
that.
It is. Yeah.
I think I understand that frustrates people, and it is not a diss on Bill Paxton or Helen Hunt or whatever.
I didn't think you were dissing Bill Paxton.
I worship Bill Paxton.
And I'll tell you something else. I don't agree with you, but I'll die for your right to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
it's
beautiful.
a good take. I don't agree with it, though.
I know.
Twister's an awesome movie. I would say you had to be there, but you guys both were. You just have your opinions. That's fine.
It was actually an example of it was one of the first times I was let down at a movie where it had been really anticipated because it was this great year of action blockbusters, and I saw it and I was like, I don't know, but that's just me. That's just my opinion.
What was it rated? Because I think
It's
I might have
PG-13, I think.
Yeah,
I think so, too.
I think I might have seen this one at home.
Yeah, probably.
You know?
Yeah,
But
you
which
didn't
then what are
see
you
Jan
gonna
de
do?
Bont on the big screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it will be considered a bad pick by you. People love that movie.
Let me tell you that the draft starts here. All the
does
big
it?
ones are gone,
Okay.
and I know I almost know with a certainty what you're going to take next. But
Do you know both?
I
I'm
have.
sure that you know one, but can you guess number 2? Why don't you go ahead and make the next draft for me? Yes, it will be an Oscar nominee.
It will be English Patient.
Yes, it will. Which is, you know what? Whatever Elaine Bennis says. I love this movie. I loved it at the time. It's quite beautiful. So
It's two
Elaine Bennis
Seinfeld
is a Seinfeld reference for those of you who are too young to remember that. But this was
Who are you speaking to?
Who the fuck do you think doesn't know? Is listening to the big picture and doesn't know.
Anyone under 30? Jack, Leah, do you know this episode of Seinfeld? Okay, Leah says
I don't know
yes.
the specific episode.
See-
I've seen
see?
Seinfeld.
There we go.
but
Right.
I don't know the
This is
specific
what I'm saying. So, children gather round. In 1996 or early 1997, there was an episode of Seinfeld where one of the B plots was because English Patient was so revered, it was just Elaine going around being like, this movie fucking sucks. I hate it. And confronting people in line. And she goes on a date with someone who loves it, and then she has to dramatically break up with him with a lot of physical comedy. It's very funny. So anyway, I think this is a beautiful movie, and also once we were talking about that thing of suddenly being a part of larger pop culture, I was allowed to watch Seinfeld, so I was kind of I was like, wait, they're talking about this other thing that I know about. Beautiful movie. Kristen Scott Thomas doing Herodotus is just really powerful stuff. The wind speech.
Yeah.
The lamp has gone out. I'm writing to you in the darkness. Just
Oh, you guys did a movie swap for this.
yeah, and he was like, "Whatever,
It's all right.
that's fine."
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Rafe Fiennes, what's up?
It's not better than Fargo. I can fucking tell you that for sure. It's
Okay.
definitely not better than Jerry Maguire either. So I don't know what that's all about.
This was also this Oscars was when one of the Billy Crystal ones where he was in all the montages, and then at the very end, he famously is in the yellow plane
Good one.
in the plane
Oh,
crash,
yeah,
which is pretty essential to our.
Good one. Yeah.
Okay, so important. Can you guess what I'm going to do next, Chris Ryan?
Celtic Pride for comedy.
You can?
I'll write it down
Yeah.
right here.
Okay.
And if you're right,
Tweet it right now. Just randomly tweet it.
No, why don't you schedule it and then
I gotta look at what
it'll
you've
go
picked
out
so far
October.
just to be sure if I've got it right here. Yeah. Okay. I think I know. what it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, you're writing it down.
Hold on.
This is exciting.
Okay. Go ahead.
In drama, I'll be taking Romeo and Juliet. There we go.
Bang.
Yeah, I mean you have to.
Nailed it.
This is
This is the other. This is the other. This exploded, And it was beyond even the film. It was just like,
listen,
yeah.
like we knew about Leo. Here's the thing. Like we knew about Leo. I don't know if I knew about Radiohead until Radiohead started playing. To his
I'm
point
serious.
about the
Like,
soundtrack.
look,
And
I love
then
the
that,
soundtrack.
and
I
then
love
it
talk
like,
show
and it
hosts. Yeah,
pans
of course.
to Leo, and I was just like, wow, my world has changed.
Yeah.
That whole soundtrack
Mhm.
is incredible.
Yeah.
The
Local God by Everclear. Absolutely.
people. I mean, I mean,
Great song.
listen, and this was Loveful, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
which I went to a
Through
Jingle
the
Ball
Aquarium.
to
to see the Cardigans.
yeah, because of listen, like
Unbelievable shit.
I was doing
Good band.
the work in 1996 and 1997.
This is why
the Aquarium, bless them both. So Romeo and Juliet.
I would have taken this if you hadn't.
Yeah.
I think this is a great movie. Baz Luhrmann is a black licorice
good
filmmaker
script.
for me.
You think it's good?
some good speeches.
Some cool twists.
I think the stylization of this
it's unreal.
is an amazingly cool choice. And I think it spawned a lot of bad imitators.
It did. I saw all of
And
them.
I also think I don't really know what Baz Luhrmann's on about pretty much from here on out. Like I haven't really gotten a movie he's made since then. But this movie, especially that introduction, but I agree with you about the Leo sequence with talk show host playing, and you're like, that's fucking movie stardom right there.
Yeah.
But the John Leguizamo and Dash Mihok and the showdown at the gas station, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was a real can you do this moment for me too. That I think works really well.
Right.
I think being young when you see this really matters. So maybe you being a little bit, I don't know if you like this movie or not, but maybe,
no, my wife's still obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Both with Claire Danes and with Leonardo DiCaprio, and the music and the fashion and everything. Like, I think it's like an absolutely seminal film for people.
Just like one of the key references of the 90s. And I don't mean to disrespect it by picking it fourth. It was just kind of how
it's
the
amazing
draft
it lasted
shook out.
this long.
I know.
But that's why it's a great
Yeah.
year. Okay, Chris, you've got to pick.
You know what sometimes happens with these drafts is that you just don't want to pick the same movies you've picked in other random
I think
drafts.
that only happens to you.
Really?
Yeah. So, and we appreciate it because you're all about the content, you know, and you're about changing it up, and that's
Yeah.
great. But if you want to be a guy who wins,
I don't really care about winning.
yeah,
I care about entertaining, and I care about the connections that we make with each other and with our listeners.
Yeah.
You're
You're like Jerry Lewis. It's not about awards.
dude. If I did a telethon, you think I could
you
raise
would be
money?
so good at a telethon.
You would.
But what would I raise money for?
Banana Republic. I
Yeah,
think
the Patreon for incarcerated picture.
All the money you've siphoned out of that organization.
I'll take.
God, we should have you do a telethon. I will answer phones. I'll do bits.
God, man, what do I want to do here?
NBA Palooza was kind of a telethon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Because the thing with comedy here,
Oh no, I'm getting nervous.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to go with the thing that like I watch the most or the thing that I like the most as a comedy.
Okay.
Comedy is fucking stacked.
I know I'm not going to pick the thing that you want. Comedy.
I would be honestly happy with any of my top 7. I would genuinely be happy.
Should I just recap what I have so far, just in terms of the categories?
That seems like great. Once again, are you a professional podcaster?
I have a drama. It's Trainspotting. I don't have a comedy. I have an Oscar nominee in Fargo. I don't have an action horror thriller. I have a blockbuster, and I don't have a wild card. My blockbuster is Twister.
So you're just missing comedy and
Action
Wild-
horror thriller and wild card. So I have
He's got
3
Train
left.
Spotting, Fargo, and Twister.
now action horror thriller is a little trickier. There are some good movies for sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to take Primal Fear and Thriller.
That's what I thought you would have done.
And I only mean that just because I feel like Good for You, Marty, or whatever is.
It's a great movie.
We've said it so many times, but it's such a great example of what we were capable of as a people
Yeah.
and as a society.
This is one where the twist was spoiled for me before I saw it.
That sucks.
Well,
It
you
sucks,
know,
but it's
like,
another one that you
what are you
can
gonna
then
do?
go back and watch the movie knowing it, and you're like, oh, I see.
right.
Well,
But I mean, but it was like a little different.
Yeah.
By the time that's okay.
Phenomenal Edward Norton performance. Larry Flint's the same year, I think, right? Is he in? He's in Larry Flint, right? He's the lawyer.
He is. He is
Big.
in
So it was a big Edward Norton year.
Yeah.
And so like he was like a major deal, like just for me as like, oh, like a guy who kind of like is almost my age, who's like popping off right now. we've talked a lot about Primal Fear, but incredible courtroom drama, incredible legal thriller, and one of the all-time twists.
Great pick. I've got 2 picks.
Right now, you have Jerry Maguire in drama, questionable, but we're allowing it. The Rock in action horror thriller, and Independence Day in blockbuster.
Well, in Oscar nominee, I'm taking That Thing You Do.
Fuck.
So that's what you get for taunting me. Once again, you have aired.
I was doing filler. You always tell me to do filler, and I was doing it.
You have aired deeply.
God damn it! I was so close to my perfect game.
Do you think that this film is beloved by people who are Jack and Alea's age?
Jack and Alea, have you seen That Thing You Do? Show of hands. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down and not seen.
Wait, is it thumbs down like
it?
or you haven't seen it?
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
haven't
All
seen
right.
it.
Okay, that's better.
I also have not seen it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're missing out on a modern classic.
You know who had the streets completely fucking in a headlock at this time? Was Liv Tyler.
I mean,
You couldn't throw a pebble without hitting a Liv Tyler movie.
This was also the year of Stealing Beauty, the
Yeah.
Bernardo Bertolucci movie that she
remember
starred
that.
in. Also starring Rachel Weisz, quite memorably. That Thing You Do, for any of you at home listening along who have not heard of this movie, this is the directorial debut of Tom Hanks, written and directed by Tom Hanks, about effectively a one-hit wonder in the late 1950s, early 1960s.
Or a
They
one-hit
are-
Oneater.
Oneaters.
Oneaters.
They're called the Wonders.
Actually, 1964. That's later than I would have thought this was set in. And it's just a delightful dramedy. Very, very, very well made.
Adam Schlesinger, the late Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne,
songs.
wrote the songs.
Including the title song, which is the song that was nominated, that got
Yeah.
it to be an Oscar nominee. Did not win.
Did Evita win?
Well, Evita wasn't added. Well, I guess songs were added.
Yeah, a song was added, which is like absolute bullshit. That Thing You Do, the song is like one of the only songs in history that meets my best original song
I
qualifications.
do think that You Must Love Me
yeah,
from Evita is very good.
sure.
It's
I remember
Andrew Lloyd
it.
Webber and Tim Rice.
Listen, I could sing it right now.
Okay.
You're
You're not a fan of Evita?
Uh-uh.
You don't like her politics? I saw Evita on a class trip.
To Argentina?
Really?
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I also saw Romeo and Juliet for the first time in class.
Well, that's
Really?
It was shown to me in an English class the following year. I don't think I saw it in theaters.
Do you think that teacher was nursing something that day? It was just like, let's just watch
I mean,
Romeo and Juliet.
public high school on Long Island, they were
Yeah.
just like, it's movie day.
We did
every
once.
third day.
We were doing colonial America as a history block, and we watched Spartacus for some reason, and it was
Yeah.
quite obvious that was not the teacher's best
Did you also see Caligula?
best Wednesday. We watched the films of Ken Russell.
That lineup of best original song that year was You Must Love Me, which won. I finally found someone from The Mirror Has Two Faces, the Barbra Streisand film, for the first time from One Fine Day, one of the most bitter romantic comedies of its era.
It's really tough.
Fascinating movie. That Thing You Do, and Because You Loved Me from Up Close and Personal,
Incredibly important
written by
in
Diane
its own
Warren.
way. Yeah.
Yes.
And performed by the one, the only.
Celine Dion.
Dion.
I feel good about that pick. I have another pick.
Damn. I think I've seen that movie upwards of 50 times. I
It's a
am
great movie.
obsessed with that movie. And obviously, like, plays into our whole Beatles thing.
Mhm.
Tom Everett Scott, is that his
Mhm.
name? Forever going to be
And Jonathan Sketch
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and Ethan Embry
And Steve Zahn.
and Steve
And
Zahn
Steve
as the
Zahn.
rhythm guitarist. Yeah.
Really, really. The Wolfman? No. Wolfman is who they replaced.
He's the
Ethan
drummer
Embry
in the
with.
beginning.
Yeah.
I think, do I only have wild card? No, I have comedy.
Oh no, Giovanni Ribisi is the drummer in the beginning.
Yes.
Yes.
And then Wolfman
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
bass
yeah.
player. That's right. He's the one who comes in
Because Ethan Embry enlists.
or gets drafted. Is in a list.
I think he like goes to Disneyland.
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
He enlists. And Tom
Uh,
Hanks is like, "What are you doing?"
so you have one last
Rita
slot,
Wilson
or you have
is
two?
No, I have two
cocktail
slots.
waitress at the jazz club.
Do you have a comedy?
No, but I have some backups, so it's
And do you have
okay.
a comedy?
I don't.
Wow.
I'll be fine.
So we waited a long time
Yeah,
to go to this category, but now it feels like the
I
right
wanted,
time.
I wanted That Thing You Do in comedy, but
I thought so.
well, as always,
You went out of the.
You're
You
generous.
did the thing that I was praising us for not doing, which is dipping out
I
of the
did.
Big Six.
I did, but had to be done.
Yeah.
right now I'm really wishing that Chris and I had learned like a 2-person choral arrangement of the Bruce Springsteen song from Jerry Maguire to sing to you.
She whispers. Isn't it Secret Garden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the radio station would play it with the clips.
I'm glad you brought this up. We were talking about A Complete Unknown on the show. This is an episode that aired 2 months ago from when we were speaking, but nevertheless. And
where do you think your emotional state in regards to A Complete Unknown will be?
I will
on
not
October
have seen
8th?
it by this point.
Yeah,
I missed this segment. I think. What is the general vibe?
He's just having a fucking meltdown because it's like
what's wrong
what
with
he
you?
wants,
You and
but
Andy
also
both.
what he
Yeah.
doesn't want.
Well, I'm not
and
where
it's not
Andy
the right.
is. I'm not where Andy is. Andy was like, "This looks like garbage to me" on the podcast.
Yes.
I didn't say that. And that's not. I don't think it's going to be garbage. I'm a little concerned that it's not what I want out of a movie about Bob Dylan, which isn't. That's a musician that I really care about. And so that led to a conversation about Bruce Springsteen and maybe that Jeremy Allen White movie will happen. And I was like, I really like Bruce Springsteen, but he's not like essential to my musical taste.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think of like, would you say that he is for you?
Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah.
He's pretty big.
Yeah.
He's pretty big. It's not definitional for me in like my personality and my life, but I really like a lot of his records and pump them still to this day.
What's your favorite?
You can't say Nebraska anymore, so I'm going to go Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Okay. That's the right pick. That's like cool. But
Yeah,
not too
yeah.
cool. Still
I
some
know.
pop edge. You understand.
I'm used to your music psychologies at this point.
I like. Thanks for also like just minimizing me and just being like you're just like a
Me?
NPC who just plays as a hipster.
You said it, not me. I'm taking Happy Gilmore.
You're like,
in
I
comedy.
like Bob
Okay,
Dylan.
Yeah, of course. I willingly accept the cliche of my life, just like I willingly accept the cliche of being a 14-year-old boy who saw Happy Gilmore and was simply delighted.
Yeah.
And I am delighted to this day. And I think it is a world-class comedy, and I love it. It's got to be weird. Like when I saw Caddyshack when I was a kid, I was like, this is funny.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you look at Happy Gilmore now as a 20-something, are you like, this is dumb. This is horrendous.
20-somethings, Happy Gilmore.
These are the guys.
5-star banger.
5-star banger, thumbs up. Okay, that's good to know.
Hell yes.
Listen, the kids are
The
all right.
kids are all
Thank
right.
you so much.
That's great.
That's good. It's really important.
Obviously, we lost Carl Weathers this year. Happy Gilmore. He's a critical part of that film. We lost Bob Barker recently, one of Chris's favorite talk show hosts and personalities, and someone whose sexual politics he understands.
Have I
it's
like a game show? No.
Yeah. I think you'd be really good.
No?
Maybe. I don't think I would be good as a contestant.
Oh no, I think you would. Be
I think
great.
I would lose in Jeopardy.
I would find it really fun.
But I think I'd lose in Jeopardy for not.
But you trying to like guess the price of like a pack of sponges, on Price is Right would be.
You should go on Supermarket Sweep.
Oh my God.
That is what I want to see. Pushing the cart around, looking for sausages. That's what I want.
Did you guys read the interview with the gay couple who like? Okay, so this like went viral 2 months ago when we recorded this, everyone. But it was like someone took a screenshot of an old Supermarket Sweep episode, and it was like two guys who work like quote unquote business partners. But it, obviously they are together, and so Slate found them, and they are very much together, and now they're legally married, and also their parents like were both widowed, and they got married, and they're really happy. So it's a very lovely story. But they also talked about their Supermarket Sweep strategy.
Their parents were both widowed and got married?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. But then they talked about they ended up losing.
Kind of Targaryen vibes.
Even though they because they didn't think about the weight distribution in the cart before and so they put all the frozen turkeys and stuff first, and then it was and I just really would like to see you, Chris Ryan, pushing a cart full of frozen turkeys around, and trying to tend with the weight.
Maybe for your 50th I'll do that.
Live supermarket podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
66.
Oh my God, we really should just make you should have to share your weird food opinions on the TikTok, and we should just follow you, GoPro in the grocery store, and I think that would be really amazing content.
We don't give away this content, we don't just
well,
give it away.
Fine. Put you figure out how to monetize it. You're the big brains, right?
We
you put
optimize.
together a deck,
Yeah.
you and Ed Norton, and you let me know, okay?
I would happily accept his investment if he were so interested in my future business as a food
He's
sharer
just
of
making
opinions.
the presentation for you.
Okay, well, that works too. You've got to pick.
For comedy, so I've got comedy and then wild card, right? For comedy, I'm going to go with Tin Cup.
Good one.
Ron Shelton's look at a fallen golfer who's
Mhm.
making a run at the U.S. Open. One of my favorite Costners, Dynamite Rene Russo, very funny Don Johnson, incredible ensemble of supporting characters, and a really, 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 really amazing sports movie.
It's so good. The last hour is like watching a golf
It's
tournament
just a tournament,
on TV.
but that
Yeah.
actually is pretty cool.
But then
One of my favorite things to do.
Watch
But
Kevin
the-
Costner and Don Johnson.
the conclusion
play
is really,
9 holes.
really, really, really
Yeah.
good.
Also some just amazing basically taking like very specific golf things, like a guy who thinks he can carry water,
Mhm.
like hit a ball over water and he can't, but he just keeps insisting that he can.
Yeah.
Making
this is how I learned about what laying up is.
yes.
When I rewatched it for
Just
the Kevin
lay up.
Costner Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. And I was like, oh, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'll do
Okay.
Tin Cup. As you get 2.
I do. In a way, it's nice because like I don't have to worry about my perfect game anymore.
Okay.
Speaking of Kevin Costner. And if I've gotten that thing you do in comedy, then like the pressure to pick like the truly perfect wild card would have been sort of unbearable.
This is you trying to emotionally reconcile that your awful behavior led to your inability to be perfect.
I was filling
Who
airtime
pathologized
while
this
you
for
were
you?
indecisive, which is something you have asked me
Well,
to do.
You can go negative or you can go positive. I'm choosing to go positive.
You're
I'm
going high?
celebrating the films of Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I did.
Okay. That's
Much like the Academy almost did
yeah.
That's
by
right.
nominating.
That's right.
So I think in comedy, I'm going to be true to my heart and also true to 96 Amanda.
Mars Attacks.
And to really like a vocal minority of Ringer podcast listeners who are just waiting for the First Wives Club to be featured on absolutely any
Mhm.
podcast. It seems like it's just like a blind spot
Looks
for
like it's being featured on the big picture
everybody
right now.
else. So here we are.
Yeah.
Are those people who want to hear that episode First Wives? They want that representation?
No, this was a very big
It was a
thing
very popular
at the
movie,
time.
yeah. Super
This
popular.
is Goldie Hawn, Bette Midler, and Diane Keaton. And then Sarah Jessica Parker in a dynamite supporting role, dealing with the death of their college friend and also their shitty husbands, and then expressing their feelings through song.
Is this a musical?
No, but at the end they do "You Don't Own Me,"
Oh, okay.
you know, which is pretty important. And they're all wearing white, and
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
you have not seen. Okay, well, whatever.
It's weird because you're such a huge Bette Midler guy. So I would have thought this would have been one of your faves.
I actually don't know, other than Birdcage, she's in Birdcage, right?
Who's
No.
Is Bette Midler in Birdcage?
Diane Wiest.
Oh.
yeah.
No, that's racist against white women.
Diane Wiest is great in Mayor of Kingstown.
I'll bet she is. I'll never know. Haven't seen it.
Have you seen First Wives Club?
I have seen First
Okay.
Wives Club.
Why did you watch that?
I would rank it. Why would I watch it?
Did you watch it for like a pod, or did you watch it?
Well, I was being raised by a first wife, and I would say
Yeah.
she was very excited for the film. I do believe we saw it together.
Like there are a lot of people have seen this movie.
I know.
It made
I know.
$181 million.
It would have been funny if that was my first film school assignment,
Yeah.
is direct the First Wives Club.
So it's directed by a man named Hugh Wilson.
Mhm.
Can you name any other films that Hugh
Did he
Wilson
do
has
Chariots
directed?
of Fire?
No, that's Hugh Hudson.
Did he do, and Hugh Hudson also did Tarzan.
Greystroke?
Yeah.
Legend of Greystroke.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Can you name any? He's directed some big movies.
No, I can't.
Well, he directed Police Academy.
Okay.
Oh, what a auteur.
He also directed Blast from the Past, starring Brendan
What year,
Fraser.
Oh,
what year
wow.
did Police Academy come out?
1984.
Have we done, we've drafted 84, haven't we?
We have, in fact.
Yeah.
In honor of
Of me.
What
Yeah.
year did Police Academy 2 come out? Can we draft that?
I'm not sure. He directed Dudley Do-Right.
Sure.
He directed Guarding Tess. Has anyone seen Guarding Tess?
I
Yes.
actually seen
Yeah,
Guarding
of
Tess.
course.
Good film. Some other stuff.
Okay. So, wild card. I have a few things I could do here. But I think and I mentioned Matilda. I mentioned Emma. It was what a time it was to be 12 years old. But I do think I'll do Bottle Rocket for wild card.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
that's what happens when you take that thing you do for me.
I have other options, but I was definitely circling that.
Yeah, this is Wes Anderson's debut. Introduces us to the Wilson brothers, and or the future Harrison Ford.
One of whom would go on
Yeah.
to be the future Harrison Ford.
And this is not something that I saw in '96, but I probably saw it after Tenenbaums,
Mm-hmm.
and then went back and did Rushmore and Bottle Rocket, and we've talked about a million times that Wes Anderson is sort of like a generational touch point at least for us.
We have just completed the Grand Budapest Hotel rewatchables yesterday.
Oh,
so
okay.
we
that's
shared
been
a lot
out
of
for
Wes
2
Anderson
months?
takes. It's been out
Yeah.
for 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
I
guys
hope
talk about
people loved
Millennial
it.
Pink?
I brought it up.
It
and
came
I
up.
thought
Did?
of you.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
it was an honor
Good job.
review.
Okay. Do you know about Millennial Pink, Chris?
I do, yeah. I mean, I knew about it before the podcast.
That's
as
actually
well.
Amanda's influence. That's
To
how
know-
profound. To reference the palette and specifically the trendy color
right, and
in
it's
such a
and
way.
the way it's
I mean, it
and commodify it and put
it
into the culture. Yeah.
It led the way.
so I have a wild card.
Were you
That's it.
thinking
But that
Bottle
pink
Rocket?
is honestly prettier than true Millennial Pink, because Wes Anderson has immaculate taste.
I couldn't
It's
tell.
it's a pinker.
I couldn't
It's
tell the
a
difference.
vibrant,
It's an amazing movie.
close to
Bottle Rocket also an amazing
Scaparelli
movie.
hot pink.
I'm excited for talking about honorable mentions because
Okay.
there's
many.
so many. But I would feel, and there's a bunch of movies that I'm like, I can already hear people be like, how could you not?
Yeah, of course.
I am going to draft Lone
People
Star
where?
with my wild
Lone
card.
Star. Good.
I saw Lone Star in '96 when it came out, and I was like, is that the best movie I've ever seen in my life?
It's the only movie that I rewatched for this podcast.
And it is the only movie that I rewatched for this podcast.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, was last night?
And you know what?
Oh my
Look
god!
at that!
It's fucking incredible.
We're so back.
It's
It's
still
so good, yeah.
so moving at the end.
I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie.
It's a film by John Sayles set in Texas. It is essentially a season of The Wire condensed into one film.
I saw a review that said that on Letterboxd. It was like was
it Chris's?
This is no, but it was like this is a season of prestige television shrunk down to one film.
Yeah, and you can sometimes feel like there's lots of subplots in this movie, but at its heart, it is a murder mystery and romance movie where the murder mystery and the romance are kind of tied together. It was Matthew McConaughey's other big breakout, aside from Dazed, was being in flashbacks Chris Cooper's father. And it stars Chris Cooper and Elizabeth Pena in the film. Also an amazing Joe Morton performance and an amazing Chris Christopherson performance. And it's essentially about a corrupt sheriff, the man who replaces him, and the people who grow up underneath that man. It's maybe not the most elegant way of describing it. And then also there's an army base in this Texas town, and there's a crime committed. So it's just like a lot of stuff happening. But Sayles is like one of the best ever at being like, here's 12 characters and how their lives kind of collapse on each other. And this is my favorite Sayles movie. So
Mine too, and not confusing. Usually a movie that is this sprawling, I think, can sometimes get a little bit difficult to navigate. But it's only like 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's not that long.
and one of the great endings, I don't know about movie history, but like one of my favorite endings to a film ever.
Yeah, great reveal. You got a very curious look on your face because you see two men who really admire one
No, it
another.
was cute. I was just like that. You guys are having a moment.
Yeah.
and a great movie.
I hope
Also, it's
I
like
hope
in
people watch
Sayles
Lone
movies,
Star.
you get to see actors who you will see so much, Chris Cooper, Elizabeth Pena, Joe Morton, over the course of your life, and they're never quite featured the way they are in Sayles movies, kind of. John Sayles movies, he takes character actors and lets them be movie stars for 2 hours, and it's always sick. But McConaughey, what the hell?
He's glimmering in this movie. Wild card, I'm taking Swingers,
Yeah.
which is not often bundled in with the Tarantino generation that you mentioned at the very beginning, but I do think is actually a part of it in a very specific way, because I personally got very invested in like how they got this movie made. And I was very interested in Favreau's like story. This
Yeah.
is one of the very few like screenplays I bought in a store. And I was very interested to know like how he wrote it, even though it's not like a terribly complex movie. It's just like a bunch of guys talking in rooms. they did a good job of kind of like explaining to the world what a like wonderkind moment this was for a guy who'd also similarly to Tarantino been struggling for a while. But the movie itself is just like very, very cool to a dorky kid from Long Island. And it featured a world. And it's only now as I get older and I've lived in Los Angeles for a long time that I see like what losers the guys in the movie were. That I see that Trent, who seemed like the coolest guy of all time because he was such a great talker and he was very tall and handsome, doesn't have a whole lot going on in his life.
Yeah.
And that the movie takes on a completely different, it's colored differently by aging and also seeing Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau become so huge and so important to Hollywood. And it's very much a time capsule movie. Like, I don't know if I would watch it every day. And also, speaking of soundtracks, this is a soundtrack that I really love. And not so much the swing dancing stuff, but like the actual like jazz and R&B that's on that soundtrack is phenomenal.
Let me ask you this. If there's no swingers, is there a sphere in Las Vegas?
Why do you say that?
Did swingers revitalize Vegas so much and make it a destination beyond just like, this is a place you can go gamble or like a crazy thing that we can do in the middle of the night or whatever?
God.
To the point where it becomes, first it goes, what happens in Vegas, like all that stuff that happens after. Bill's writing about it. Like everybody starts talking about it, and then it increases like its footprint in terms of being a tourist destination for stuff outside of gambling to where you wind up
with The Hangover and then The Sphere.
When did the What Happens in Vegas tagline come around? Obviously, there was a movie, but I think the catchphrase was before that, the commercial, the sort of marketing campaign.
I think it's after Vegas, Baby Vegas. I think it's after Swingers.
According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, which is what I was fed via Google, 2003.
Well, thank you to Jon Favreau for his work. I love Swingers. There's so many honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. Where would you like to begin, Amanda?
I mean, we could start with things that are in the like top 10 highest grossing, including you briefly mentioned The Birdcage, but The Birdcage, which was probably my first Mike Nichols movie. And you mentioned Matthew McConaughey, A Time to Kill.
Chris's first Mike Nichols movie was Closer.
That's funny. Those were big movies.
Time to Kill.
And The Birdcage making $124 million domestic is
pretty wild.
Yeah.
Also on that list, Ransom. Give Me Back My Son.
Yeah.
Which was a phenomenon and actually made $136 million. That
is
movie.
That Ron Howard?
Ron Howard and Mel Gibson in his prime of stardom. That movie outgrossing The Rock is fascinating. I really do not like the 101 Dalmatians adaptation.
That's Glenn Close?
With Glenn Close, but that movie was also huge that year.
Has that been in your home?
The original. The original is beautiful.
The cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eraser.
Schwarzenegger.
Not a very good movie.
Nominated for an Oscar.
It was. I noticed that. Were you thinking of drafting it?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Phenomenon and Michael? The two John Travolta films from that year.
It's tough for my girl.
Arguably her biggest L.
Yeah.
Who's your girl?
But
Nora Ephron.
Yeah, Nora Ephron. But what's the other even bigger L that we watched recently? Mixed Nuts.
Oh, you're right. That one
that's
is
the
worse.
biggest L. Yeah.
Michael's okay. Phenomenon I'm not a very big fan of.
I'm going to walk you through a couple of things here.
Please. Those were just the big movies, not the movies.
This is not I don't even know if this really fits into the big pictures agenda, but this was a very good time for HBO Films, which put out about 10 narrative scripted films in one a month, and it would just be like, these have largely been forgotten. I don't even know if they're
a very big fan of many of these.
I don't know how available they are on Max or if they're available on DVD, but The Late Shift was a really big deal for me. I don't know why, but like I was like
loved it.
Really fascinated by it, and also the style of filmmaking that it had was very like verite, and this idea that like you would be seeing Dave Letterman and Jay Leno negotiating their contracts, even if it was fictional or whatever. It's crazy. There was another really good HBO movie that I can't find, but I remember very fondly, which is called Don't Look Back, which was a early Billy Bob Thornton script. And it's about Eric Stoltz playing a junkie in LA who steals a suitcase full of money and absconds back to Texas where he's from.
Never seen this.
And hooks up with his high school friends, and then the dealers come looking for him.
Interesting.
It's like kind of a One False Move-ish movie, but it's really cool. And then there's a lot of really good lowbrow. I don't even know if I want to say it's lowbrow. Let's talk about From Dusk Till Dawn.
It was right behind Swingers in my wild card pick. It absolutely rocks. And I will not apologize for anything that I enjoy about this movie.
Yeah.
Which is a movie about two bank robbing, hostage taking brothers, played very credibly by Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney.
Okay.
They're brothers.
They're brothers.
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez directing. They take a family hostage after a
Harvey
spoiled bank
Keitel
robbery.
and Juliette Lewis.
Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis. And they're headed to a meeting point to get the money that they're owed and then get across the border. And that meeting point is a brothel at the edge of town. And that brothel, do you know where this is going?
No.
You have no idea what this is.
No.
I almost want to make you watch this movie.
Okay.
That brothel's.
Don't tell me. All right.
You don't know? You don't know what this movie is?
No.
Okay, when I saw this the first time, you kind of knew because of the marketing, but still, I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, it was the fucking coolest thing. It's basically what happens is they get to this brothel. Harvey Keitel is a priest, a defrocked priest who's fallen from his faith.
This movie is so awesome.
And,
I can't believe it.
But George Clooney is taking them hostage, and they get to this brothel, and Salma Hayek does a long striptease with a cobra or something.
Yeah. Okay,
and
this is ringing a bell.
And then
her name is Satanico Pandemonio.
And they all turn into vampires.
Okay.
And so they have to fight vampires all night. And it's like...
It's like the Wild Bunch with vampires and Salma Hayek in a bikini.
That's
like,
cool.
I was 14, Amanda.
Hey, no, that's awesome.
Are you kidding me?
I know, but you're just like, how do you, 12-year-old Amanda, not know where this is
I'm not
going?
blaming you for that. I'm trying to convey to you
that's
what
beautiful.
an earth-shifting work of cinema this was.
Okay.
Should I keep throwing other ones out there?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so much.
Do you like Kingpin?
Yeah, I really do. Honestly, it might be my favorite Farrelly's.
It might be mine too. It's a tough one.
That was a movie, though, to your Twister point, where I think in my head I built it up that this is going to be the funniest movie of all time.
Because of Dumb and Dumber?
Because of Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson. Because I was like, this can't, like, all the previews and, like, the idea that they were just doing a bowling comedy, I was like, this is truly going to be my Super Bowl, and I don't know if it lived up to that.
I hope I didn't Munson that pick, for comedy. That would have been tough.
Bound.
Yep.
Big one, big thriller. I gotta say, I'm really working we're still in like maybe taking it out for its to find its voice and find my steps. But the Al Pacino in City Hall performance gets better and better every time I watch it on YouTube.
Yep.
Families mingling, children laughing, hearts joined, and he does this. Hearts joined.
That's the international sign for two dicks touching, just for the record. I think I like that movie.
Yeah, I love City Hall is awesome.
That's the guy who directed Sea of Love.
It's Harold Becker with a script by Paul Schrader and Bo Goldman.
Yeah.
And Nick Pileggi.
Yeah.
Some other stuff. Sleepers was a big deal.
Liked it a lot
that year.
Yeah.
Read that book before the movie came out, and I was like, "What? This is they're gonna make a movie out of this?" I have a bunch.
You guys.
Cable Guy, which is a movie that was like reviled publicly, but if you were a kid, you went and saw and probably saw over and over again. A movie that maybe like relate to more than I'd like to admit. Citizen Ruth, Alexander Payne's first film, which is a little bit underseen these days, much like a couple of these other movies is not really widely available anymore. So I feel like it doesn't have a huge reputation. Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
The Chris Guest movie, which is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
David O. Russell's Flirting with Disaster, which is, I think, his second film and is really, really funny, like an ensemble comedy. Walking and Talking, Nicole Holofcener's second movie, I want to say. Broken Arrow, the third movie of the year for John Travolta, who's playing an absolutely mind-broken general.
Like stealth Blackbird pilot who steals his plane. Yeah.
I mentioned Breaking the Waves. The Chris Farley vehicle Black Sheep.
Sure, of course.
Sling Blade.
Yeah.
Didn't mention that. Billy Bob movie. Would like to give a shout out to Tales from the Crypt presents Bordello of Blood.
Dennis Miller. Yeah, that was
absolutely. I was watching the Dennis Miller show on HBO every week. where he was shooting pool while Tears for Fears Everybody Wants to Rule the World would play,
Yeah.
and then he would come out and he would explain America to us. And at the time, he was coming off of Saturday Night Live, not a weird fringe right-wing guy.
Yeah.
Actually seemed like an incredible thinker in the world. Maybe even shaped some of my ideas. Shall I keep going? Barbed Wire, starring Pamela Anderson. Imagine being 14.
Yeah,
Just a boy.
we were there.
Just imagine it.
Imagine being a 12-year-old girl
Did you like The
at
Craft?
the same time. Yeah, but like I wasn't really, goth adjacent, so
Okay.
I was aware of it. I was a little more Harriet the Spy than The
Sure.
Craft at this point. I mean, let's be real. I was 12.
What else is there? Oh,
Big Night.
Big Night.
Big Night.
She's the one, which is I'm like
I like it.
I like it too, and also the Tom Petty song.
Good soundtrack. Yeah.
Courage Under Fire.
Very good movie.
Big Matt Damon. And awesome Denzel Washington. I'll just shout out Land and Freedom, which was the first Ken Loach I'd ever seen, and is basically his homage to Catalonia. It's about a guy who goes from Liverpool to Spain to fight.
Haven't seen that
So
before.
it's really, really
Okay.
cool. Welcome to the Dollhouse. I love saying things like Jiminy Glick. Welcome to the Dollhouse. Is that your favorite movie?
Yeah. I mentioned it a little earlier. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's it represents a right turn in narrative storytelling. I think Todd Solondz has a movie coming next year, so maybe there'll be an opportunity to like look back at his work. Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man came out this year.
Yeah.
Marvin's Room, just to round out the Leo
That's right.
of it all.
Yeah.
That was Oscar nominated.
Yeah.
There's a couple of cool thrillers. The two I'll mention is Trigger Effect, which is a David Koepp movie with, I believe, Kyle MacLachlan and
Mhm.
Elizabeth Shue about
Mhm.
what would happen in a like suburban town if there was a blackout. That's really cool because it's kind of Lord of the Fliesy. you know?
Right. Like a long blackout,
Yeah.
not like 6
Days.
hours, like days. Yeah.
Um,
Abel Ferrara's The Funeral,
yeah.
starring Chris Walken. That's a great movie. Yeah,
Walking and Talking, Nicole Hofstetter.
I said that.
Oh, my bad.
What about Whisper of the Heart from Studio Ghibli?
Sure.
Didn't see that.
You guys haven't seen it?
Have you seen Whisper of the Heart?
No, I haven't.
What about the documentary When We Were Kings?
Yeah. I
About
was,
the
I was
Roman
wondering about that
jungle.
for Oscars.
I thought about it for Oscars as well. It's a damn good film. The Long Kiss Goodnight, directed by Rennie Harlan.
One of the that was one that I was going to mention as like it was almost a bigger story about the making of the movie than the movie itself wound up being because it was such an expensive script. Is that Esterhaus? Joe Esterhaus? Or is that Shane Black?
I think it's Shane Black.
Shane Black. But it was like the most expensive spec script ever bought. Speaking of behind the scenes stuff, I was wondering if this ever crossed your radar, but Up Close and Personal,
Yeah.
which is the John Gregory Dunn book Monster, is based on his experiences
yes.
working on Up Close
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Personal. I didn't know a lot about the woman that Michelle Pfeiffer's character is based on, and I read about her last name, Jessica Savage.
I don't think I know the real story. I think I
It's quite
just
sad.
know that Robert Redford's very handsome
Yeah.
in that movie. So
So Jessica Savage went to Ithaca College. And so she is was a much discussed figure when I was studying journalism there. And there's a big broadcast journalism program. I was not in the broadcast program, but she was
yeah,
you wish
here
you had been?
are.
Yeah.
funny how that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wish you had gone into broadcast journalism?
I don't really have the comportment for television, I don't think, despite whatever is happening here. I'm just
I think you would be a great broadcast journalist. I love to hear
Oh.
the news from you at night.
Oh, thanks so much.
Is that not a nice thing to say?
I mean,
Amanda's ready for a snack in case you haven't realized it.
I thought I was doing okay.
She's been a little buried in here for the last 5 minutes.
It is like the small meals phase of this, right?
Yeah,
You know, it's like
yeah.
I've got room for like every 2 hours. We had the cream cheese and the bagel.
It's okay. It's time to eat. I respect it.
I mean, like if you're saying I remind you of Diane Sawyer, that would be wonderful. I don't really think that's what I'm giving off. I'm afraid I'm giving off more of like crazy Barbara Walters.
It's not crazy Barbara Walters.
Okay.
It's like a peak Jane Pauley,
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Peak Linda Ellerby.
okay. Thanks. Oh, Linda Ellerby. That's yeah. I would take that.
I just like to cite F. Gary Grace Set It Off before we go.
Okay.
It's another movie I really like.
Yeah, I
Starring
liked.
Queen
I
Latifah.
also would like to cite Heaven's Prisoners starring Alec Baldwin.
What happened in that movie?
Which was a sexual awakening for me, as
Wait.
was in some ways Girl 6, which I did not.
Spikes,
Speaking of sexual awakenings, I'd like to cite Fear, starring
so was Ryan
sure,
Russillo.
yeah, Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon,
Yep.
and some things that should not be repeated, but they live on in my brain.
Roller coasters.
Yeah.
Wild stuff. Super normal episode of this show as usual.
Did you think it was bad? I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't think it didn't get too hostile.
No, it's great. It's
You know?
really.
Now we know where you are on cream cheese.
Yeah, I'm having a very normal career.
What about like lox spread?
What about it?
Well, do you eat smoked salmon
I do.
or lox?
I do.
Okay.
I would prefer to have just the salmon. I'm not as into the spread.
Okay.
It's not a hard and fast thing. If you handed me a sandwich with
Lox spread,
lox
you would
spread,
eat
I
it.
would eat it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for checking in on that. Appreciate it. Would you like to recap your picks, Chris?
Oh yeah, sure.
You closed your laptop. Amanda, why don't you recap your picks?
Okay, hold on. I gotta scroll up.
I'm right here. Go for it, Amanda.
Okay. In drama, I have Romeo and Juliet. In comedy, I have The First Wives Club. An Oscar nominee, The English Patient, which is actually an Oscar winner. In action horror thriller, I have Scream. In blockbuster, I have Mission Impossible, starring Tom Cruise. And in wild card, I have Bottle Rocket.
Chris?
In drama, I had Train Spotting. Shout out to Born Slippy. I still listen to techno to this day because of that song.
Yep.
Comedy, Tin Cup. Oscar nominee, I took Fargo. Action horror thriller, I took Primal Fear. Blockbuster, I took Twister. Wild card, I took Lone Star.
In drama, I took Jerry Maguire. In comedy, I took Happy Gilmore. In Oscar nominee, I took That Thing You Do. In action horror thriller, I took The Rock. In blockbuster, I took Independence Day. And in wild card, I took Swingers. Thank you guys.
You're so welcome. How's future you feeling
About
what just happened here?
what? How would it be different from current me?
I don't know. How do you think when you wake up on October 8th and you think about this day, how do you think you'll be feeling?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I will not be thinking about it. Every single episode that we record, I'm like, that will never be something I return to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I go back and listen.
You do?
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, that's nice.
I remember driving around Philadelphia, not that long ago, and listening to you dying about Thanos on a draft. I'd be like so mad that I took it.
Oh man, that was like that you quit. That was like the end of the year, I think, and you were really, really spent, and you were just like, I'm gonna walk out of here.
But fortunately for both of you, I returned. And so thank you both very much for participating in this. Thanks to Elias and Harris. Thanks to Jack Sanders. Thanks for the listeners of the show. We'll be back at some point in October. You won't be here more than likely.
Yeah.
What else is happening in October?
Unless you figure out how to answer voice text.
Can I tell you what? I will not be doing that.
Can I call in?
Of course.
You'll answer the phone?
We gotta get an old
recording?
landline with speakerphone.
So this is true. This is what I have on the schedule right now. On October 11th, which is the next episode that is planned, I literally have that we'll be covering the movie Saturday Night, which is directed by Jason Reitman, and the talent that I have listed to be the co-host of that episode is Chris Ryan. Now, will that actually happen?
Why wouldn't it?
Is it something you want to happen? Because I haven't run it by you.
I would love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that episode.
Isn't Gabriel LaBelle Lorne Michaels in that movie? I have so much stock invested in this guy.
I was trying to tell Amanda I'm kind of excited about this movie.
I like Saturday Night Live. I love comedy. And, I've read that book. I like the history of the stuff. I have some reservations based on what I've seen, including a recently released photo of Nicholas Braun as Jim Henson.
I've seen it.
Okay. But I'm excited to listen to you guys talk about it. I do think you should have Naaman on at the end.
If I have Naaman on, it means Jason Reitman's not coming on the podcast.
That's the point. Well, he's not
bit of
listed.
a devil's bargain
He's
here.
not listed right now. I don't know if you've sent the request.
He's
well,
not.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll speak to Jason as well. We'll see what happens. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Saturday night.